Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome back to the WRA Oreo Cup Series. And Happy New Year for 2025. As we're here at Infinity Raceway in Sonoma, California for the Toyota Save Mark 350, race number 6 of the 2025 edition of the WRA Oreo Cup Series. We're glad to be back. Yay! If you ask me. Looking forward to a fun race here today. 28 laps of racing. We're going to have no cautions. So whatever happens in this race. So, yeah. So, ready to go racing here. Our first road course race of the season should be a lot of fun here today. After a fun race at Phoenix, when we last left our amazing Intrepid Heroes, was a very interesting race. Skylar Taylor starts on the pole position. She has been free-falling through the points the last couple of races. She is now 15th in the points table. She is alongside of Courtney Lynn in the number 24. Courtney jumped up 2 spots to 6th in the points table, which we'll get to the points in just a second. Marinelli DeLeon dropped 8 spots down to 18th in the points table, and she's alongside of K Wascher, who gained 5 spots up to 26th position in the points. This is Jackie Tang's home race. Same with Ian Dutta, both from California. So look at the rest of the starting lineup. Ian Dutta's got his work cut out from the rear of the field. Points coming into this race are as follows. When we last left our Intrepid Heroes, N Crenshaw not only took the points lead, she's also the rookie points leader by 1 point over S Askraov. N Fryman, who won back at Phoenix last time out, he is third in the standings. Maddie Crenshaw is fourth in the standings, 6 points back. 14 back is W Ayers in fifth. Courtney Lynn, who we just mentioned, is sixth in the standings. Sean Art is seventh. Cody Smart is 29 points back in eighth. E Monaco came in this race ninth in the points, 33 points back. He failed to qualify for this race, so he'll drop outside the top 10 in the points. And Kyler Anderson will complete the top 10. Also, Leo Hill, who came in running well in points, also failed to qualify for this race here today. So the points are really going to get shaken up a bit heading into next week at Loudon, New Hampshire, as the field is rolling off, making sure nobody has any issues. And, hang on. All right, CJ Bracken just finally rolled off the grid, so they had to do one more pace lap. Or CJ was starting at the back anyway, so it really didn't matter if anybody held him up as far as that is concerned. 28 laps about to get underway here at Infinity Raceway, our first road course race of the season. And what's ironic about next week when we go to Loudon, that's where we're heading to crown champions for the Diva Series. So how about that? If you know what I mean. But here we come. The green flag's out. We're racing at Sonoma. Welcome back, the Oreo Cup Series. I also had to blow my nose before I started this race, so hope y'all didn't mind. I did that during the intermission. Had a little jumbled up in the back there. As Skylar Taylor will lead us into turn number 6, heading to turn 7. 28 laps doesn't seem like a long race, but this is a 2-mile road course. And of course, Skylar Taylor, if she wins today, providing she remains in the top 30 in the points, she would be in the playoffs. There's Courtney Lynn. She also raced here at Sonoma not that long ago during the break where we had the Diva Series stuff. And of course, she'll take part in the Diva Series finale coming up this weekend. So she's going to have a nice little advantage over everybody else, with the possible exception of Jesse Ard. As everybody in the back's getting all jumbled up, Skylar Taylor will lead the first lap. Let's check back here at the rear of the field. There's our last timeouts winner, N Fryman, back here at the rear of the field. Eric Stanbury, there's Jared Johnson. Those drivers not having good qualifying efforts there. Bradley Ream, I understand he doesn't have an R, but I told Bradley, don't worry, I will have the I will update the points because I just don't. Because if I try to fix it, then yeah, that's going to be a problem. And there's the gal that's trying to run down Annie Crenshaw for the points lead. That's S Askraov, who comes in this race second in the points. Carmen Alejandro's got problems. Carmen's got problems. Oh, she's got some right side damage to the Carvana Toyota. That's not good for the 84. Remember, she raced her way into today's race via the Go or Go Homer. There's Cody Smart, our Daytona 500 winner. There's 10th in points, Kyler Anderson. Eric Sadler, who's dead last in points of the drivers, who, as Carmen Alejandro is coming to pit road, looks like that tire rub was getting worse, so she's not taking a chance. Eric Sadler, dead last in points of the full-time drivers. Jaleesa Kuzman battling with Sean Art. Daniel Witter right behind Reggie Fogelman. There's Brooke Paquette. I did tell Bradley Ream I did apologize for that little mistake with his with him not being a rookie when he is a rookie, so I apologize to him for that, which no harm, no foul. There's the driver everybody should be watching for, Zachary Fitzwater, as he's getting ready to pass D Ebrahimian in the 8 and then chase down his godchild, as we like to say, Annie Thomas. Annie Thomas making her second start this season. Here's a bit of here's a bit of irony. This is also the same track Annie Thomas made her WRA debut for Anthony Ritchie's channel. If you remember, for those that have been in the community, like Fitzwater probably should know this, but for those that don't know, Annie Thomas ran 4 races in place. I think it was in place of the suspended Dylan Young, if I remember correctly. And her first race was, ironically, here at this track. So there you go. There's Jackie Tang. This is a home race for him. Carolina Bradley. Everybody's been looking forward to Carolina Bradley. Of course, she has been having a tough season trying to make races and all that. But the fortunate thing for Carolina Bradley, she'll be in the All-American Series. That will be starting up next week at the track we're actually going to be going to pretty soon, Coca-Cola. Of course, that'll be the season opener for the Trucks, Busch, and Winston Cup Series, because that will also be starting up very soon. Donovan Dixon raced his way in via the Go or Go Home qualifying session this morning. There's William Ayers in front of his teammate Alexander Dawson. William Davis, Annika Ritchie. There's Q-Man trying to chase down Lena Ritchie. Kevin Joseph raced his way in via the Go or Go Home session, also running the car that will be going full-time in the Oreo Cup Series next season, the 35 for 2311 Racing, which, by the way, will be a chartered ride. And there's the points leader and the rookie points leader, Annie Crenshaw. And back up front with Skylar Taylor. Skylar Taylor, a Truck Series champion, the Camping World Truck Series champion to be more specific. Courtney Lynn, a former Munster Energy Series driver who made the Final Four in her rookie year in 2021. I know Courtney Lynn's been under a lot of headlines of what her future was, but Amber McMillan said not to worry, Courtney. I'm still going to let you and Brenda Eveling race. We will also see Brenda Eveling in the All-American Series later this year. Of course, we'll see her in a couple of weeks, and Courtney Lynn's also going to be in the All-American Series. Of course, the All-American Series will be comprised of drivers from the Munster Energy Series, which Courtney Lynn and Brenda Eveling are 2 of them that's going to be in that series. So some track time for Courtney Lynn and a number of drivers that, I've been still loyal. And also that will include Maddie Crenshaw, Annie Crenshaw, and all those other drivers. Just to give them a little bit more track time. Of course, Annie Crenshaw is going to have a birthday coming up very soon, in several weeks' time. Skylar Taylor in the 45 for 2311 Racing. As I'm going to look at the points here, the 2311 girls, we'll probably just say, because Maddie Crenshaw and Skylar Taylor are female drivers. Skylar Taylor, of course, a rookie in this series. Maddie Crenshaw, now part of Ricky Cervantes' team for the remainder of this season. Not sure what's going to happen for her plans next season, but we'll have to wait and see when we cross that bridge. Maddie Crenshaw is 4th in the points. Skylar Taylor is 15th in the points. And I talked about drivers that came in running well in points, like E Monaco, who failed to qualify for this race. I saw D Ebrahimian having an okay run, and also Kyler Anderson, who's not having a good run, was top 10 in the points. So we're going to have a bit of a point shakeup heading into next week at the track we're going to for DEMA Championship Weekend. That is Loudon, New Hampshire, at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Before that, we will have the Red Bull GT Series at another road course. Of course, we're racing here at Sonoma. We're going to Seth Cole's home track of Watkins Glen. Looking forward to that. That'll be a 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time race. Hope you'll join us for that. Of course, Ingrid Pollard, who failed to qualify for this race here today, we'll be seeing her next weekend at Watkins Glen. Because remember, the Dear Red Bull GT Series does not have go or go home qualifying and all that, yada, yada, yada. That is what is coming up around the NR races on the channel. You look at these two girls who are the top two. You know, Skylar Taylor, who we've had her for a couple of years on the channel. Courtney Lynn, we've had her for a very long time on the channel in the Monster Energy Series. Ironically, driving the number she drove to make the championship for. And may I remind you, she did it in a must-win situation. Got some dust kicked up there as Courtney Lynn ran wide, and there's Carmen Alejandra back there at the rear of the field. Bradley Reams also dropped back. Jared Johnson, Samad Oskin. There's Nathan Fryman, last time out's winner. Ian Dutta, not the run he's hoping for, as that was Kyler Anderson who ran wide. Now he's under pressure by Cody Smart, the Daytona 500 winner. Of course, Skylar Taylor's also the rookie of the race leader, or leading in the rookie battle. I do not recall if Skylar Taylor has ever won a road course on the channel. I do not recall if she has. I don't think she has, if I recall. But I know Skylar Taylor is going to have possibly a win if she doesn't make any mistakes in this race. The other thing I should mention is that when I look at the 5 races we've ran, even though we've had 5 different winners, as I look at the points here, all 5 of our winners, Smart, Fogelman, Stanberry, Q-Man, and Nathan Fryman, who we had last time out, as I got something hitting me in the back. Looks like it was a cardboard box. which I'll also explain another reason in a second. Those 5 winners that we have right now, all of them are the Ford Mustang Dark Horse. Toyota and Chevrolet have not been to victory lane. This is a bit of irony. Like we saw Ford and or not Ford, excuse me, Chevrolet and Toyota last year in the NASCAR Cup Series go to victory lane, and Ford has yet to go to victory lane. Now it's the other way around, which I find that ironic that it's the other way around. And of course, Toyota looking for their first win on the season and a possible spot into this season's playoffs, providing they remain in the top 30 in the points. Right now, Skyler's 15th in the points. And let's see, her total between herself and 30th is about 28 points ish. Because Chase Brooks comes into this race, excuse me, there, in that critical 30th position in the points. So as long as Skylar Taylor, if she does win this race, she needs to make sure that she remains in the top 30 in the points to have a possible win if she does win this race here today to count for a spot into the playoffs. We talked about Cody Smart, who struggled trying to get who struggled trying to remain in the top 30 in the points table when we had the Oreo Cup Series in 2022. We all know what happened that season. He did not make the playoffs, despite going to victory lane. And Courtney Lynn, you can say the same for her. Chris Wascher there in third, Marinelli Dillion, and there's Annie Crenshaw. And according to my live points, Annie Crenshaw looks like she would keep the points lead heading into next week at Loudon, New Hampshire, because the gal that was trying to run her down for the points lead, which is S Askraov, she's all the way back in 35th. That's second in points. And then N Fryman, who won at Phoenix, is 36. He came as race third in the points. So a couple of drivers who came in running well in points are going to really take a hit in the standings heading into next week at Loudon, New Hampshire. And I'm also going to throw a disclaimer out, which I did not bring this up in Go or Go Home qualifying, but I'm going to go ahead and bring this up now for anybody's interest as I'm recording this race. I'm currently at a friend's house in Bethany, and the reason I'm over here recording this race is for a couple of reasons. One, remember what I talked about last time out at Phoenix, that I was going to be back in my group home? Well, as of this recording, we are not back in the group home until a further decision is made. But by the time you're watching this race, I would be already back in my group home by now. So I'm just giving you guys this little FYI. As of this recording, I'm currently at a friend's house, which I came over here by my own choice. But don't worry. I will have these races taken care of. It's not like it's going to be a big issue, if you know what I mean. So just want to give you guys that heads up. Everything's going to be fine. I will get these races out to you like I normally do on my off days. Of course, I have a lot of off days this week, of course, right around the holiday week, which is, by the way, this week as I'm recording this race. But by the time you're watching this, it's already over. So just want to give you guys that heads up right here, right now, so that way you're not freaking out and say, well, why is Daniel not record a race? Now you know why. I'm just giving you that heads up in advance. As we're nearing the midway point of the race, Carmen Alejandro, Legacy Motor Club's not having a good run. Where's Zachary Fitzwater running? He's running a 19th, so at least we know one of the Legacy Motor Club cars is having a solid run. As we are now at the midway point of this race, we're going to take a lap around Skylar Taylor inside the cockpit of the Air Jordan Toyota Camry SXE out of 2311 Racing. Here's a novel concept. This is the same number set she won the championship in the Camping World Truck Series, which may or may not have their only season. We will wait and see what I'm going to do as far as that season, as far as next season is concerned. As we're going to wait for her to come off turn 11, we'll start our ride along with Skylar Taylor and tell you how tricky racing here at Sonoma is. And if Cody Smart's keeping track, she would be placed on the chopping block for EU Blue, which hopefully that won't happen. But here we go. You're on board Skylar Taylor. All you can see is a clean racetrack. Going up through the hill. Heading for turn 4 and 5. We reach the top of the hill, down to turn number 6, which we call this sometimes a tricky turn. Then we go down into turn number 7, what we call Calamity Corner, is what Mike Joy likes to call it. And now she starts to wind her way through the S's. Through turn 10, heading to turn number 11. And then now to turn number 11, heading to last corner in the start-finish line. That's a lap around Sonoma with Skylar Taylor in the number 45 machine, who has a 0.7 of a second lead on Courtney Lynn. Nobody has encountered any troubles with the exception of Alejandro, who's already had troubles today. That's a tough break for a go or go homer, but at least she's happy she made the race this week. As we're going through the S's again. About two ladies who really wants this win more. One who is a former champion on the channel. One is a former Final Four on the channel. One that owns ST Motorsports. The other that is been jumping back and forth between Nathan Orman Motorsports and Indiana Motorsports. And now she's part of Autism Racing. That is Courtney Lynn. Which lady wants it more? Excuse me. Because no matter what happens between these two drivers, Skylar Taylor and Nathan Orman, and yes, Seth Cole did derp for calling Skylar a guy when Skylar told me it's a gal. As Courtney Lynn just ran a little bit wide there, so that's going to allow Skylar to pull away from Courtney. Of course, Skylar and Courtney race in the Red Bull GT Series together. These two ladies have done a phenomenal job in their careers on this channel. Courtney Lynn, funny thing that is, even though she lost the championship to Nathan Orman in 2021, she won the Rookie of the Year honors. And of course, she is a veteran in the series. She's actually been in this series ever since I took over the Oreo Cup Series rights back in 2022. So Courtney Lynn's been at this game for a long time. Skylar Taylor is just learning the Oreo Cup Series because remember, this is her sixth career start. Courtney Lynn did a full season in the last full season I did. And she did not, I don't think she made the playoffs that season, that 2022 year. Because I know Cody Smart made the playoffs, or no, got a win, but was not high enough in points to have his win count for a spot in the playoffs, excuse me. And we all know what happened to Cody Smart. He ended up finishing near the cellar of the points table. And the great thing about, when we talk about, the Diva stuff and all that, Courtney Lynn's going to be racing in the Diva Cup Series. And of course, we will be seeing her sister, which is Abigail Lynn. Of course, Abigail Lynn will also be running in the Craftsman Truck Series this year. Is that, Abigail is learning a lot from Courtney. And also, we can also say the same thing for Hazel Eveling, who we will see her in the All-American Series this year. And like I said, there will not be signups for the All-American Series because that series is going to be strictly only for the drivers of what was the Monster Energy Series / what was then called the Reese's Pro. So those drivers would love to have an opportunity, which we will see Callie Springer, we will see Betty Barrett, Jacob Tutu, who we will see in the Winston Cup Series this season, Barrett and Tutu. As Skylar Taylor still leads. Still a good run for the Hendrick Motorsports Brigade because Courtney Lynn's in front of her teammate K Wascher. Still a great run for Marinelli Dillion, the 71. Marinelli Dillion comes into this race as I go back to my points here. Marinelli Dillion comes into this race, dropped 8 spots down to 18th in the points. And of course, she came in this race below the playoff cut line. And like I said, with Eric Monaco, who failed to qualify, this would technically put her back into the playoff conversation. And remember, we have 7 more races left to go until All-Star break. That's another thing I should mention is that not only these drivers are trying to also get a win to keep themselves in the top 30 in the points, they're locking themselves a spot into this season's All-Star race. So that's another, oh, by the way, situation. As Skylar Taylor continues to dominate this race, want to remind everybody this copyrighted broadcast is presented by the authority of the Blue Hedgehog TV, PCS, the Pacific Coast Sports Racing Association, and the World Racing Association for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, rebroadcast, retransmission, or any other descriptions or the use of this broadcast without the express written consent of the Blue Hedgehog TV, the Pacific Coast Sports Racing Association, and the World Racing Association is strictly prohibited. Blue Hedgehog TV wants to thank you fans for your continued support for the Oreo Cup Series, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast. As we're down to 7 laps of racing to go, coming up to the line. K Wascher has not gained any ground on Courtney Lynn. But that's still a good result for the two Hendrick drivers, Courtney Lynn, Chris Wascher. In particular, Chris Wascher, who's tied for 26th in the points. And also, I should mention Reggie Fogelman. Let's see where he's running right now. He's in 24th. He came this race 1 point back of 30th in the standings, which is Chase Brooks, who's running in 20th. So I don't know where this is going to put him in the situation of him getting back in the top 30 in the points to have his win count for a spot into the playoffs. Reggie Fogelman referring to. But he's going to need a good run if he wants to get himself in the top 30 in the points to have his win count for a spot into the playoffs. Because, like I said, you got to be in the top 30 in the points. And we talked about when Cody Smart got a win, was not high enough in points to get his win count for a playoff spot. I don't want to see the same thing happen to Reggie Fogelman or any of the any of the four winners besides Fogelman that's won this season, like Smart, Fryman, who else am I thinking of? Stanberry would be in that conversation. Because Stanberry came in this race 21 points ahead of 30th in the standings. It's really critical for these drivers to get good runs, stay consistent to be in the top 30 in the points. There's Ian Griffith in the 47. Was announced this weekend that GTG Daughtery Racing will be rebranded to Kayak Motorsports next season in the Oreo Cup Series. They will have the number 47 still. They will still have the charter. So we will see if Ian Griffith will be staying in that 47 next season. That's something we will have to wait and see as far as that's concerned. Of course, we talked about Kevin Joseph will be full-time next season. The 60 car that we also failed to mention will also be full-time in the Oreo Cup Series in 2026. Of course, Sam Tenley drives that car. Of course, he failed to qualify for this race, but this time next season, the 60 car will be full-time. No, stupid phone. I did not ask you to play a video. So we're down to 4 to go. Be 3 to go next time by. Thanks so much for joining us here today. We'll look forward to Loudon next week. Of course, we'll be going to Loudon for the rest of the race weekend with the Diva Trucks, Busch, and Cup finishing up their seasons. And then we will be staying at Loudon, New Hampshire for the Oreo Cup Series. Before that, we head to Watkins Glen for the Red Bull GT Series. We'll have a 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time race for the Red Bull GT Series from Watkins Glen, which will see Skylar Taylor and Courtney Lynn. And then we will have our 7th race, We'll have Go or Go Home qualifying at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, race number 7, the USA Today 301 from the Magic Mile of Loudon, New Hampshire. Hope you'll join us for that. Down to 3 laps to go. Skylar Taylor just taking it easy. The only car that's in front of her up the road would be Carmen Alejandro, the last car on the lead lap. And has anybody retired out of the race? The answer is no. Good run for a number of drivers who are struggling in the points table. Ian Griffith dropped 5 spots to 22nd in the points. He'll be back in the top 20 leaving today. Alina Ricci, 20th in the points. She'll be in the top 20 still, leaving today. Quentin Moore doing his chances of keeping his win eligibility for the playoffs a lot of good. Quentin Moore comes in this race. We have 2 to go, by the way. Q-Man is 13th in the points. He's been climbing through the points. He is inside the top 30 in points, and his win would count for a playoff berth. He would actually be inside the top 10 in the points because, as I talked about at the top of the broadcast, Eric Monaco, who was top 10 in the points, failed to qualify for this race. We had a couple of drivers right near that cut line who failed to qualify, Leo Hill and Eric Monaco. And those two will be below the cut line, which to Monaco and Hill, it would not make a difference because I know another DNQ, they would be out of the playoff hunt, which, to be fair, it was going to happen one way or another. We will have cautions back on, by the way, next week at Loudon before I forget. As here comes the flag that Skylar Taylor's been waiting for, the white flag. One more lap to go, sponsored by Credit One Bank. Skylar Taylor just needs to keep her momentum up here in the playoffs, or if she makes the playoffs, believe it or not. For Skylar Taylor, in her 6th career start, would be getting her first career Oreo Cup Series win. This will lock her into the All-Star race. And she has not put a wheel wrong the entire day. Started on pole, never dropped the wheel, never put all 4 tires in the dirt all day, kept it on the pavement the entire race. Has not made any mistakes so far today. And she's going to get rewarded with her first career win in the Oreo Cup Series. As around turn number 11 for the final time, Skylar Taylor is going to pick up her first career win in the Oreo Cup Series. She wins the Toyota Save Mark 350 here at Sonoma. As I realized there was a car on pit road. I don't know who that was. Looked like a black car to me. And it's the 54. That's Brooke Paquette. She was 25th at the time. Was she involved or did she have a mechanical problem? Let's see. before we show you your finishing results. Yep, she had a mechanical problem, and it held up Senor Sean, so that didn't help Sean at all. That's a tough break for Brooke Paquette, not the run she was hoping for. As we're going to have to wait for the standings to get official before we do we'll do your top 10 as always. Skylar Taylor will take Rookie of the Race. And of course, she was the only leader today, leading all 28 laps of today's race. Courtney Lynn will get second. Chris Wascher third. Marinelli Dillion fourth. Annie Crenshaw will get fifth. So Annie Crenshaw will keep the points lead heading into next week at Loudon. And she's also another Diva driver that is going to be in the Diva Cup Series races. The standings are now official. She's one of those drivers that will be racing the Diva Cup Series at Loudon, so that will give her advantage. Same with Annie Thomas, oh, by the way. Ian Griffith will get sixth. Kevin Joseph, great run in his return to the series. In seventh, Alina Ricci, Quentin Moore, and Annika Ricci will complete the top 10. So the Ricci sisters had a quiet run here today. Alina Ricci came into this race. Annika Ricci, 29th in the points. That's a well-needed run for her. Alina Ricci, 20th in the points, so this will keep her in the top 20 in the standings. Top 15 was completed by William Davis, William Ayers, Alexander Dawson, Donovan Dixon. Great run for him in a go-or-go-home effort, and a great run for Carolina Bradley, who's been struggling trying to make races. And when she has qualified for a race, she had a nice top 15 run. Top 20 completed by Jackie Tang, Annie Thomas, Zachary Fitzwater, Dylan Ebrahimian, and Chase Brooks. Look on down to the remainder of the finishing results. And a lot of drivers, excuse me, did not have the results they were hoping for. S Askraov, 34th, came in this race second in points. She was also trying to run down Annie Crenshaw for the rookie points lead as well as the overall points lead. That's not going to happen. N Fryman, 1 race removed after getting his first win. 35th, came in this race third in the points. Not the run he was hoping for. Carmen Alejandro got in the wall, had to make an early pit stop, never recovered. 41st place. She was the last car to finish on the lead lap, and then not entirely sure what broke on Brooke Paquette's car as she ended up having a mechanical problem coming to the white flag, and she will end up being credited with 42nd place. So that is a tough break for the 54 of Brooke Paquette. She was running 25th at the time of the mechanical problem, and she came in this race running well in points, so that was definitely not what Brooke Paquette needed. So the points are really going to get shaken up, but Annie Crenshaw, we know, despite her 5th place finish, will still be your points leader heading into next week at Loudon, New Hampshire, which we are heading to now to crown our champions for the Diva Series, Diva Trucks, Busch, and Cup. Then next week we will have the Oreo Cup Series also at Loudon, New Hampshire. Before that, Red Bull GT Series will go racing at Watkins Glen International Raceway. Hope you guys enjoyed today's race. If you did, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to become part of the PCSRA and the WRA crew today. We've shown your full finisher results. Your point standings are down in the description heading into next week at Loudon, New Hampshire. Until then, I've been D Ebrahimian signing off as you've been watching another broadcast of the WRA Oreo Cup Series on the PCSRA Sports and Gaming channel and the WRA, the greatest racing since 2013. Thank you for watching another broadcast of PCSRA TV, celebrating 15 years as the best in racing around the world since 2017. See you next week from Loudon.